Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we're going to see the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. How are you feeling about this? Where you at? Where's your head at?
So I like Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so that's good.
Yeah. Tick. We saw the Christmas special recently.
Yeah, and I feel like the Christmas special was enough. Like, I don't know that
You've had your fill.
Yeah, I don't know that it was very good timing of them to do that. Now, I don't know how many people watched it. We watched it and we talked about it over on our Patreon at the time, but it was fine. I didn't mind it. It was grand. And I just feel like if that hadn't happened, I'd be maybe a bit more interested in this movie than I am. Yeah, that's my feeling about it. But I know I like the movies and I think James Gunn is brilliant. So, like, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, so famously, James Gunn, now the co-head of DC Studios. So this is his final Marvel project before he goes over to the DC EU and does his own thing there, resurrects it, does his own thing. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of these series. I think that first Guardians film is probably the best MCU movie, in my opinion.
Ooh, high praise.
It's a fun series, it's a good series. The second one was didn't quite reach the heights of the first, but had some good moments. So I'm kind of positive and optimistic about this, but I'm is well documented in our recent episodes. There's just too much of this stuff, and the quality is low now. And I'm talking about the Marvel Studios stuff. They haven't, for me, this phase 4 or 5 or whatever one this is now is just. It's just all duds from Endgame down. I
am expecting this one to be way better than Ant-Man, which is the last one we watched.
That one was a low point.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be way better than that.
I mean, that's not a hard bar to cross.
I just say, I think the fact that did James Gunn come off the second one and came back again, he'll be like bringing new life. He did, right?
He had that whole controversy, where he was hired by Disney. Yeah, because the second one was 2017. We did it on this podcast in one very early episode.
But did he direct it or not?
He did, yes.
All right.
Yeah, and then
he came off it.
And then after that, I think he was wrapped up in a those Twitter scandal and got fired by Disney and
now he's back again.
Was brought back.
I think
so there has been a long gap.
I think he'll be given a good solid go of it. So let's go and watch it.
All right, I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget where we came from.
We have been running our whole lives.
Pete, I'm done running. We'll all fly away together. One last time. Into the forever and beautiful sky. We are
Hi, it's us. We're back. We've just seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If it's your first time at the Cinemile, there are no spoilers here, so you can stay. It's safe. I might spoil some stuff from previous Guardians of the Galaxy films, potentially.
I think you have to, at this point, it's spoilers for anything in the MCU.
Yeah, up to except this movie.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll get to spoiler street shortly.
Yeah.
But just top line thoughts now. Kathy, how you feeling? I was sensing positivity.
I really think it was very good.
Getting positive vibes.
I enjoyed it. I cried a ton during this movie.
Okay, want to dig into that on spoiler street?
Yeah, I really cried. I love the pivot into Rocket as the kind of core of the story.
Yeah.
And I had a really good time with it, really enjoyed it. I always love the music in these movies. There were some awesome fight scenes which were really cool. I really enjoy most of the cast, albeit I felt like the cast was too big and like will
Yep.
Coulter, is that his name, or Will Coulter?
Poulter, yeah.
Poulter. I love him. I think he's a brilliant actor. He's fine in this movie, but I felt like he was like one character too many
Wasted.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my overall, was very emotional. Really enjoyed it, and was actually happy to be back in the world of Guardians of the Galaxy again, and to be kind of the music and the kind of silliness of it. Because what it does is it has music and silliness and is lighter than the other Marvel movies. It's a very self-contained story. It has a really good baddie, which in fairness Marvel are doing much better now, right? Even in Ant-Man it had a good baddie. So it had a good baddie, it had realistic stakes, it had like emotion, it had all the things a good movie should have. And it was funny. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I just am a bit fatigued with these, so like I find it hard to get too excited, but I cried way more than I would have expected at an Avengers movie.
Okay.
What about you?
So I'm not as positive on this as you are, and I already apologise to our listeners who are diehards, because I just know I'm gonna go against the grain here, because I think everyone is gonna like this movie or does like this movie. But for me, it wasn't great. It was good, not great. And I'll caveat, before I get into my problems with the movie, I'll caveat it with, this is the best Marvel Studios movie since Endgame, I think. Maybe Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange are kind of up there as well. But this does feel like a return to quality and a return to form. I think
a return to like having actual like stylistic choices that are good.
Yeah.
Like it feels a bit fresh.
And it has a very like distinct aesthetic that also feels like it's on the Marvel brand of colour and vibrancy. But I think the difference is, compared to the Ant-Man one, that all felt floaty and unreal, and I didn't believe any of this. Whereas whatever they did with some of the sets here, and we'll talk about it in spoilers, it's more tactile, and I know there's still a heap of like computer graphic effects in this, but there's costumes which look kind of like silly and fluffy and like but like they looked tangible, right? So I had a sense of place in this that I did not get in Quantumania. But
it's like 10-20 times better than that movie.
It's just as you said, it's got stakes, it's got all the things that movie didn't have. It's got stakes, it's got momentum, it's got really good emotional payoff for a lot of the characters. But this is where I think the movie falls over, and I'll dig into it more when we get to Spoiler Street. But I think it's too ambitious. I think James Gunn, to his deserves credit for the ambition on display here, for writing and directing this. But as you nailed it, there's too many characters here, and he's trying to wrap up the whole series. He's trying to give them all some sort of little mini payoff, an arc in this. And
also introduce new characters.
And that
too much.
is the bit I'm like, you guys have overstepped it again. They did the same in Wakanda Forever, just shoehorning in a character for the future. Will Poulter is a great actor. He's a good comedy actor. He has good physicality in this, but they don't know what to do with him.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
He has no place in this movie. And it's clearly just a setup, so they've got another character for later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he is just detracting from the overall movie.
Yeah. Whenever he had a scene, I was like, there's enough going on. Can we go back? Because there was already new villains introduced.
But also
as well.
the tone of him was all over the place, which we will talk about in Spoiler Street. I disagree with you. I don't think the villain here was good. I love the villain. I really like the actor Chukwudi Iwuji. I'm probably butchering that, but he showed up in James Gunn's Peacemaker TV series as well, and was fantastic in that. Very restrained and subtle and interesting.
I love his costume design. The
costume design was class.
And that was back to the real tactile. Like, I think loads of the costume design was kind of like, very tactile, like Star Wars vibe. Some of the creature design, it's very clearly just men in suits.
Yeah.
And I think, but his particular aesthetic was brilliant.
I have no problem with the aesthetic. I think he's a fine actor. I loved him in Peacemaker. In this, I felt like it was too over the top. He was fucking eating every bit of scenery he could find.
That.
Just occasionally just shout. It was a very shouty performance. There was no nuance to the character. There was also very little in terms of motivation besides God complex, and to me he was really one note and very disappointing.
Oh, different. Interesting. I was kind of glad to see a new character, and also slightly surprised that they didn't try and shoehorn Kang into this, and kind of glad they didn't.
I'm glad they didn't.
I felt like they layered that in for no
I
reason.
agree. I'm glad it's a contained story. So yeah, I think this movie's trying to do too much. I think there are some very, very good parts in here, which I would like to shout out in shortly.
Did you cry?
But it is not the sum of its parts, and I don't think it works as a whole. It feels overstuffed. But I enjoyed myself. I did cry in a few moments. So
I was like
I think I
weeping.
just wanted it all to be a bit more cohesive, and also I feel like the emotional payoff for a lot of the characters felt undeserved. Right, and I'll speak to exactly what I mean in a minute, because I think we'll go to spoiler street. But guys, I'm sorry if you're all like rolling your eyes or unsubscribing or whatever. But I think this is a good movie. I think James Gunn is a fine filmmaker. I didn't enjoy this as much as something like The Suicide Squad, but I admire its ambition.
Forget was Dave's #1 movie of the year the year it came out.
Yeah, was it number 2 or 1?
No, I believe it was
I
the
love
#1
The
movie
Suicide
of the year.
Squad.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to spoiler street.
Before we go to spoiler street, though, actually, it might be fun to speculate before people turn off. Do we think James Gunn, as good as he is at making these movies,
Can save DC.
can anyone save DC? If anyone can do it, I think he's the man for the job.
I mean, he recently outlined his roadmap. There's some interesting stuff on there.
And he's making the next Superman movie, right?
I don't know. Yeah, he himself is writing a young Superman movie.
And I think he demonstrated in this film more than I've seen him before, being very, very good at actually very emotional stuff and really good character development and like backstories that I maybe wouldn't have guessed he could do. So I think I'm very curious to see what he does, and I've high hopes for him. I really do, actually.
Yeah, I do. And look at what he
To
did.
make this movie, like, given what's going on in Marvel at the moment and how kind of dull it's become, this movie is still a shining beacon. As you say, it's one of the better ones. But
it's picking up on all the goodwill from the previous two as well. That's why it feels like a return to form.
Yeah, but
it's
he was
got
the
that
creator of
momentum.
them, though. It's his
Yeah,
momentum.
no, I know. It's very
yeah.
much his thing, yeah.
So anyway, now we are going to spoiler street. So spoilers for, what's it called? Guardians of the Galaxy
Volume
3.
Right, so I'd like to go into exactly what my issues were, but I feel like I've been talking for ages. So what do you want to talk about in spoiler street? What made you cry?
All the Rocket Raccoon stuff completely took me off guard as well, because I'd seen the trailer, but the trailer was very much just like montagey. I think it was such a good idea.
It's like a twisted Pixar film, isn't it?
It was such a good idea to pivot to make this the story, and that's one of the reasons I really like the film. Is the story took me by surprise and was very interesting and really affected me. All the stuff around what the creator, whatever he is, was doing to these animals. I thought the relationship that Rocket had with his 3 friends was
cute.
So beautiful. Like the scene where they named
Please give
themselves.
awards to the entire VFX team
It was
that
so
do all of them, because I
good.
believed all of them as characters.
When that one said her name was Floor because she was lying on a floor.
Yeah.
That reminded me so much of something our 3-year-old would say. And I was just bawling. All those scenes, it really affected me. And I really like how they kind of did it whenever it would cut to Rocket in his coma state, and then we would kind of feel his memories. I frankly thought that stuff was astonishingly good. Now I agree with your other points around the film, but this completely elevated it. I loved Rocket being that central character who's actually unconscious most of the film, but we're getting this incredible backstory. And I found that they often visit new planets. I found it a really interesting idea that the planet is somebody who's trying to make Earth better, and I found the human evolution or the animal evolution stuff really fascinating.
Counter Earth.
I found honestly the core story absolutely fascinating and very emotional, and really impacted me. So I think it was probably one of the most interesting stories I've seen in any of these Avengers movies, or sorry, MCU movies. Often I find the stories can be a bit dull, to be honest.
Can I provide a counter argument?
You can.
Because I agree. I felt all the emotional tugs of those cute animals and it's all going to end badly. I thought the aesthetic of it all was very,
Very
cool
good.
and interesting. It was like Sid from Toy Story's, toys
Very
from
like
the
that,
neighbor,
yeah.
wasn't it? Like there's these horrible nightmare sort of creations, the rabbit spider and all this thing. But then to sort of provide that, humanity is probably the wrong word, but that, that emotional stuff all came through very well. However,
And
I thought it was
they didn't, that they all thought they were going to go out, and when he laughs at them and says, when he laughs at Rocket, he says, "Oh, you're so clever, but you thought you were going to be part of the new world," and that moment was so heartbreaking.
But okay, so
That was
here's
so
my
affecting.
counter argument though. All of that stuff is just it twists or pulls all the right levers, gets the emotional reaction, but not a minute of it was surprising to me or particularly novel or interesting. That entire story played out exactly as I would have expected from the start, and he was cartoonishly evil. He was boring as a villain to me. Really, really boring.
People are
and over the top.
cartoonishly evil.
But also it's just like, what's it trying to say? There was maybe a message in there about people playing God with humans and animal testing, but I felt like it was skirting around a few things,
I think what it was trying to
and
say
then
is
it was
why
just
is-
one note.
Why is Rocket Raccoon the way he is? That was it.
And Bradley Cooper's performance
Brilliant.
matched with the VFX guys. They sold it completely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying from a story level, it was relatively played out exactly as I was expected. I found it a little uninteresting. And actually I found, for the most part, there wasn't anything
We're
in
walking
this.
up a massive hill, if anyone's wondering.
So why
Dave's, like,
did we
panting.
go this way? But can I talk about the bits that I found disappointing or unsatisfying? Okay.
Oh, one more thing can I
Yeah.
say? Forgot to say at the start. I'm absolutely sick of Star-Lord. Don't want to see Chris Pratt again. Not that I think he's bad. I don't think Chris Pratt's really good in these movies. Sick of him. He's been in too many of the other movies.
You do
It's
think he's
boring.
good in this movie?
I think he's fine. Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Pratt's fine. But I have no interest in his character. Now, spoilers. Because we are on
Neither
spoiler
does
street.
the movie.
Yeah, when I thought he died, I was like actively happy. I was like, that's the right way
No,
to
that
do.
was a problem for me. Go
I
on.
was like, get rid of him, kill him off, fine.
But it was-
But
that-
then I was
Go
going
on,
through
go
my
on, go on.
head. But Dave always says that nobody ever dies in Marvel movies, so this is quite cool if they actually just kill him off. And within a minute, he was alive again, and I rolled my eyes.
No, I actually just disagree with you again, because I applaud them that everyone thought, you'd assume they had publicised this as the last movie of this team, James Gunn's departing. Everyone went into this movie expecting, even the trailers have them walking, carrying Star-Lord's body, which I thought was a great fake out because it's in the opening scene and he's just drunk.
Okay, so I never A noticed that in the trailer, and B
Well, there was
didn't ever think he wasn't coming back.
there was a general expectation that someone's going to die. You would expect that. And they play. I thought the movie cleverly plays with that. You think Rocket's going to die. I believed he could be dead. Star-Lord going to die. I believe he could be dead. But I like that they just gave them all a happy ending and they let them survive. That I actually liked for once, and it didn't feel like a cheap. Now it's a
is
bit of a
cheating,
cheap
though.
trick. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheap trick.
His body froze and blew up.
I actually,
and 2 seconds
I think
later
that
he
was
fine.
pointless. It would have been completely unearned because Star-Lord has a pointless character arc in this, and it just feels tacked on. Because at the beginning, and they're trying to reverse engineer a lot of this stuff to give an emotional payoff for the final scene, which was effective and works, and they all go their separate ways and they all have their little moment. But I'm like, to set up the groundwork for that, they didn't have enough railroad track. Because they've got 12 characters or whatever to pay
Yeah.
off. So what you get is, you get a scene, a shoehorned in scene of Mantis talking to Star-Lord while they're preparing for a heist, saying, hey, you should visit your granddad, maybe.
Oh, that was terrible.
And I'm like, what? I'm sorry, your granddad is not a character in this. He showed up for 5 seconds in the first Guardians of the
remember
Galaxy
him.
movie outside a hospital room, and then suddenly it's like, hey, you should go visit your granddad. He's your real family. People might care about
No,
you.
then
Even though
they
they
said
just revealed that
he
she's
jumped-
his sister.
But then by the way, that's so confusing. I think they revealed that in the Christmas special.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
But like very confusing, and I don't know. I still don't know why they're
So
siblings.
she's his family. They're his family. The Guardians of the Galaxy
Now,
are his
why
family.
are they siblings? Because I know I saw the Christmas special only a couple of months ago, and I
Because
still don't know why.
Kurt
they're
Russell
siblings.
is his dad, and he also created her.
Fine, okay. And then the other thing is at the
Guys,
end,
this hill is so big. Why did we walk a different way?
when he met the granddad at the end, I was so confused because I was like, but wait, that's the blue guy who blows the whistle thing.
Here, sorry, I actually have to take off my jumper. Will you hold this?
But when I was like, it's the blue guy who there's actually
there's
we're
sheep.
like past sheep. This is what happens when you record a podcast.
We've gone way into the country.
Why is his granddad the
Quiet,
blue
you.
guy?
What blue guy? He's not the blue guy.
But it's the same actor.
No, it's a different actor. He just
What?
maybe looks a bit like him. That's not him.
It's the same actor.
No, it's not the same actor. Michael Rooker plays the blue guy you're referring to. That actor
and
is
it was
not
him
Michael
aged
Rooker.
up playing the granddad.
No, it's not. It's not Michael Rooker. I'll
Okay,
IMDb it right
you
now
don't
if
need
you
to
want,
IMDb
but
it.
there is a resemblance. I'll give
Okay,
you
I
that. So I can see why you're confused.
Why I was so thrown is I was like, but why is the blue guy his granddad?
No,
and
he
then
is,
I just
he is
couldn't
not.
even pay attention.
The granddad is a character that appeared in the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 for a moment, a
Okay.
beat, and he
Yeah, I
is a
agree with
somewhat
you.
recognizable character actor. So I'm sorry,
That
it's just
wasn't a
like
good character arc.
completely no ramp to give that emotional payoff. Mantis, always Karen Gillan's great, always fun, but like, what's her whole thing in this? Her whole thing had been like,
She's going to lead city. She's going to lead. No, fairness. She was a child whose father mutilated and like experimented on, and she's going to lead the children who've been experimented on have no family. Fine.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
but I mean, her big character arc seems to be like acknowledging that Drax is not stupid. I mean,
Yeah, that was
okay,
weird.
there's not much
what
there.
I really liked about the Gamora plot is, first of all, I thought Gamora was there,
Yes.
so I was confused, and then they kind of explained it. I thought the exposition was.
I
well
thought
done.
the Gamora stuff was great.
Yeah.
I thought they should have doubled down on Star-Lord and Gamora and all that stuff because that was working and that was popping.
It was
and I
good.
really like how they finished it.
I
like they
really
didn't
like
get
that,
together.
yeah.
They're just different people.
And also his
And-
assumption where he kept assuming that this version of Gamora was sad or didn't have a unit, and I
And she
loved
did,
at the end.
yeah.
Sylvester Stallone, by the way, great cameo. I love that she actually did, and it was very presumptive of him to think otherwise. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed all that.
I totally agree. I thought that paid off really well, and there's
They
something
have great
interesting in there
chemistry.
versus like nature versus nurture. You're defined by your experiences.
Yeah.
But that should have been Star-Lord's plot, not like, oh, he's gonna go visit his granddad and live on Earth. I'm sorry, like what? So I just feel like it wanted all these big moments, and it didn't have enough room to do them. Now, the Drax one didn't really have enough room either. But it did make me cry when they said, "You're not a destroyer, you're a dad."
I know.
Because it's a great line, and also I think he's got enough goodwill from the first two Guardians movies and that is his plot from the beginning. His family were murdered by Thanos.
He's such a good actor.
That's why he's the destroyer, and there's all these hints that he was a good dad beforehand. So for me, that did pay off. I thought Rocket naturally did get a good emotional payoff because he's the bulk of the story here.
Yeah.
And then who else? And then Mantis. I mean, like, I don't know. Why is she going off by herself?
Okay, fine. She's saying she wants to go off by herself. That's fine,
But, like,
albeit it was unearned.
Where's
but why
the
is she going
groundwork
off
for that?
There was no groundwork for it. First of all, second of all, why is she going off with those three enormous creatures?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
'cause
where
she
are you
likes them.
going? Like,
I
how
mean,
are you traveling?
I don't know. And then also, but Mantis again, great. Everyone's great in this, and everyone's kind of having fun. And I feel bad
enjoy-
shitting on it, but I'm like,
You're not
if
shitting
you're
on
gonna
it.
have a big emotional payoff, you gotta set the railway tracks.
And if you're not going to kill someone, which is like an easier way to have an emotional payoff,
which is a cheap manipulative
Yeah.
way to do it.
If you're not
And
gonna-
actually, if that had been Star-Lord's death, would have felt completely pointless and unearned.
No, I
also,
would have
he
loved
goes
it.
back for his music.
That's what I mean. He's kind of a flippin' pointless
I
guy,
get it,
though.
all right.
I actually thought it would have been brilliant if he died just to get his stupid iPod. Now, can we talk about those?
It's a Zune. It's a Microsoft Zune, which I think is a really funny detail. It's not an
why?
iPod.
What the hell is a Microsoft Zune?
Exactly. Microsoft released their own version of an iPod called the Zune.
I
which
didn't even notice
did
that it
not.
wasn't.
Nobody had one, and that's what they have.
But what I want to talk about is, and I think this is where I loved all the characters coming together, and it was like James Gunn at his absolute finest. Is
The
that
corridor
fight scene in the corridor?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Each person got their own fighting bits.
It was class.
I felt like we were seeing every character's
Yeah.
strengths. The music, of course, like in this movie, as all the movies, is fantastic. The slow-mo, every single thing about that scene was absolutely brilliant. Really
Watch
good.
out, there's a car
And I
coming.
think what this movie
We're on a country
didn't-
road now.
What this movie didn't
Step into the ditch.
what this movie didn't do, that too many Marvel movies do, is have like a very boring, huge third act fight sequence. It really didn't.
No, I actually disagree with you again. I found the third act fight scene with the ship, and there's like a space battle happening, and there's all these like minor ships, and then they send like
But that was really brief.
warthog robots down to nowhere. I just thought it all felt a bit muddled and
Oh, I liked
confused.
it. I just liked it instead of like one huge set piece that goes on for 20 minutes. I liked all the
that was
different
it. There
elements.
was a huge
inside.
set piece that went on for 20. But I'm not going to criticize this movie because all Marvel movies have that problem, and even the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie had that problem. But I'm fine if you're going to pepper in a quick, cool corridor fight scene to tie it all together. So that I'm fine
So
with
what's
that.
our takeaway
So-
on the Will Coulter thing? I guess he's
Will
in the
Poulter.
comics. Will Poulter.
Yeah, he's a famous. Adam Warlock is a famous character from the comics who I don't know and have no affiliation with.
And
but
we
like,
still don't know.
He's a big character, so they're like, he could have his own franchise, maybe.
But
But
is
I'm
he
like,
supposed to be
get him
really-
out of this movie. Like,
Is he supposed to be really stupid? I couldn't figure out what he was. What
I
we
don't
were watching.
think the movie or James Gunn or Will Poulter knew what they were doing because
Yeah.
he starts off. They introduce him, I thought, very effectively as
He was like the
as an
Terminator.
antagonist. He was
Yeah.
terrifying,
That was
and
good.
really felt the threat of this guy versus the Guardians. Like, there's 5 of them trying to take him down, and they cannot, and he still escapes and manages to critically injure one of them. So I was like, whoa, this movie is playing for keeps. I thought at the beginning, I thought amazing, and I thought he's the villain. This is great. And then like the next scene, he's a comic relief character. He's like this goofy idiot, and
But that's okay because like he's got physicality and he can attack someone, but that doesn't mean that in his own ecosystem he's not like the bottom of the pack.
fine. But fine. You could argue what it does in that scene is establish the real villain as even more powerful because he pushes him up against the wall. So you're like, oh my God, if the Guardians couldn't take down that guy and this guy takes him down easily, well, he's even more strong. So that's kind of good, like layering of the stakes. But then, you know, to quote the Screen Rant guy, the scriptwriter guy, what is it? You know, when the Guardians do face him off, well, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, okay, so that didn't really amount to much. And but just make Will Poulter the villain if you want to introduce him. But in the course of this very movie, he becomes super villain at the beginning. I'm like, whoa. In the middle, he's like comic relief. Then you want me to buy into his emotional arc because his mother, who we have no affinity for, dies, I guess. And then suddenly he's like an awkward kind of good guy at the end. And then by the post-credit scene, he's in the Guardians. I'm like, guys, at least the Fast and the Furious movies franchise, which also does this, you know, waits, you know, between 2 movies to release before the bad guy from the previous villain becomes a member of the family. I'm like you did this all in the same movie.
He could have saved Star-Lord or whatever if you think he needed saving, which I don't, and then disappeared. Like, he didn't need to be in the next scene, but also, can we find out, I want to talk about something, because something that I couldn't understand but I loved in this film. Why is Groot like a superhero now?
He was always like that.
But at the very end, he's so huge in the post-credit scene.
Oh, I guess he can get really big. He's like a rock, wasn't he? Yeah.
He seemed to have an entirely different creature design. He can fly now. He jumps out of like a spaceship and grows wings.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
They've completely modified him.
Why not? But that's cool. He's Groot. He's like can do stuff.
I loved when Zoe Saldana.
Why can't you make wings out of his branches?
It's just interesting that he's evolved so much. I loved when Zoe Saldana understood him at the end.
That was nice.
Was a really
I didn't
nice
like
scene.
when he said, "I love you guys." I'm like,
I didn't get that.
but like,
I
what?
thought Groot couldn't speak English.
Well, I know. It just that felt cheap.
And nobody reacted to it
Yeah.
either. So I was confused by that. Also, I have a side note.
Like,
When Groot was
sorry,
dancing-
We Are Groot was much more powerful in the first.
Yeah, that was
movie.
lovely. When Groot was dancing, I thought that they made Groot a bit sexy.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Can we just pause the podcast now? Just so I can have time to clip this up later.
I think they're giving Groot a vibe.
What are you talking about?
I think
so let's
Groot's
dig
got
into
a vibe, and I think in the next movie, wherever Groot is, he's hooking up with someone else.
super sexy Groot movie.
I don't know what
you're
he's
hoping
doing.
for sort of a veer into the erotica,
No,
the MCU
I
erotica.
just think there's something going on
Kathy,
with Groot, and I don't know what it is.
I think there's something going on with you.
Groot's
Do you want
had
to
a glow
sit down
up.
on the therapist couch for a minute and let's just, dig into
Groot's
this?
had a glow up, and
Yeah.
Groot's grown up.
Okay.
And I think there's
and you
something in
find
it.
him physically attractive.
I think they just tried
That's
to
what
make
you're
him.
saying here.
I'm saying when they made him dance, he
Uh-huh.
wasn't dancing in a foolish way. He was dancing in a sexy way.
Oh, okay. Around all those children.
No, just dancing with. No, him and Rocket were dancing.
Oh, him and Rocket were
Yeah.
dancing intimately
Sort-
and
not
sexily.
intimately. I said
Yeah.
Groot was kind of sexy.
Kind of
that's all.
sexy. Yeah, Groot's kind of sexy. That's the takeaway here. Okay, I am
And evolved.
confused.
I am not saying I fancy Groot. I'm saying I feel like they've evolved him into quite a different character now, as opposed to like Baby Groot.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad.
Our kids love Baby Groot
let's move
actually, which is there's a Baby Groot like shorts on Disney Plus. They're really good.
Yeah, this movie's not really suitable for kids though.
No, because they saw
It's
it.
horrifying.
When I went to see Mummies with them last weekend. Don't recommend. Groot poster was up in the cinema, and they were like, "Oh my God, Groot! We want to watch that movie." I was like, "You're not watching that movie."
Another thing I'd like to just briefly mention was the heist. I thought that was all really good. I loved the colourful suits.
I love that, yeah.
I loved In the Meantime by Space Hog. That track was the standout for me in this movie. What
was that one again?
It was in the first trailer. I've been
Give me a
listening to a lot. No, I'm not going to sing. Sorry, I can't do it. And it's really high. But yeah, so I mean, sort of mixed feelings.
Fun, though.
I do like it overall.
Palate cleanser after Evil Dead Rise, for sure.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I feel so much happier coming out of this than I did Evil Dead Rise, where I wanted to have a wash and, go see a therapist.
Anyway, let us know what you thought of this movie.
I do think you should see a therapist though about your Groot.
I see
Groot
what they're
addiction.
at. I see what they're at with Groot, and I appreciate it.
No, that's not what they're at, Kathy.
It is.
They
what
are
they're
not
at.
sexualizing Groot deliberately.
They're not
That is
sexualizing
not
it.
what you have. You haven't stumbled upon some
I'm saying Groot's
hidden
all
agenda.
Groot's
this
all
is
grown
your
up.
baggage.
Groot's all grown up now. That's all he's saying.
Oh yeah, he's all grown up.
And I can't wait to see Mrs. Groot, because I presume they're going to do that, and it's going to be like 2 trees in a pod kind of vibe.
Oh.
Now, let us know what you thought of the movie.
Yes.
Come over to Twitter or Letterboxd or Instagram at The Cinemile, or come over to Patreon, where every month we watch a retro movie, and every week we do different TV reviews, roundups of all the TV we're watching. At the moment we're doing weekly reviews of Succession, only 3 episodes to go, but we have a whole back catalogue of Succession going back to season 2. And speaking of, we have some new patrons that we wanted to shout out.
Yeah, I'd like to thank some of our new patrons here. So big thank you to Anne-Marie, to Lou Mensa, who has her own great podcast.
Yeah,
Shade.
And actually her latest,
recommend.
we really recommend that podcast. It's an award-winning podcast, and it's brilliant, and Lou's a friend of the pod. And she, this season, is actually covering film over on Shade. So go
great.
check it out.
So Shade is Lou's podcast. Thank you to Lena, to Joseph Creech, to Lauren H, and to Shane Duffy. So they've all joined the Cinemile High Club at patreon.com/the Cinemile for €3 or €4 a month, and you get all the stuff that Kathy just said. And we're about to do another retro movie poll this month to decide on what we're going to watch.
And if you are still listening and you haven't already done so, we would greatly appreciate if you could head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen and leave us a 5-star review, because that just greatly helps the podcast.
Yes.
And is always appreciated.
And also, here's another one to plug. As soon as we switch this off, we're going to switch it on again and talk about some shows we've been watching recently for our patrons, including Beef, Star Wars Visions. I'm trying to remember.
The Diplomat, I've been watching.
The Diplomat. What else? Where's the list?
Schmigadoon season 2.
Yeah. So we've got all that stuff TV shows we'd recommend, spoiler free, over on our Patreon. That'll be up there right now. So
bye.
And we'll kill anyone who gets in our way.
No, not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
I'm Laura.
I'm Lauren.
And this is Go Love Yourself. She went, "You're 26?" I was like, "Size 26, yeah." And she was like, "Oh, right, that makes sense."
This is the show where we're learning to love ourselves a little more and taking you along with us.
I grew up never seeing anybody that looked like me, and that made me feel like not part of society, like almost like not a woman, because I just never felt like I fit in.
If you've got a relative that is mean about your body, Laura, what do we say to them?